I want you to think of an endangered species. Any endangered species that comes to your mind. Well, what did you think of? I'd be willing to bet that most of you are thinking of well-known cute animals like pandas, koalas, or perhaps majestic ones like rhinos or sharks. However, I'm pretty confident that most of you aren't thinking about pangolins. And no, I didn't say penguins, I said pangolins. At this point, many of you might be wondering what a pangolin even is. But don't worry, because that's what I'm here for. Pangolins, also known as scaly anteaters, living pine cones, or walking artichokes, whichever you prefer to call them, are secretive mammals often mistaken as reptiles that vary in size from about 1.6 kilograms to a maximum of about 33 kilograms. What's really cool about them is that they're the only mammals fully covered in scales, except for the sides of the face and underside of the body. Their scales are made of keratin, the same material that makes up our hair and our nails. There currently exist 8 different species of pangolins, which are found in tropical Asia and Africa. These nocturnal mammals curl into a ball when threatened. In fact, the name pangolin in Malay means rolling over, which refers to this habit of theirs. They can also defend themselves by emitting a noxious odor, similar to skunks, so don't underestimate them, because they will not hesitate to spray you or even worse, ambush you with their cuteness. The African black-bellied pangolin and the Chinese pangolin are almost entirely arboreal, meaning they spend most of their time on trees. But others, like the giant ground pangolin of Africa, are terrestrial. These animals are also capable of swimming. What can they not do? Their diet contains mainly of termites, but they're not very picky like some of us, so they also feed on ants and other insects. Their keen sense of smell allows them to locate their prey, and by using their extremely long tongues, they can pry into the nests of these insects. Now that you know a bit more about the adorable pangolins and their lifestyle, you should prepare yourself for the tragic truth about them. The harsh reality of how humans are treating them. About how humans have exploited them for personal gains, pushing these animals to the brink of extinction. Pangolins are poached mainly for their scales, which are used in traditional Chinese medicine, even though there is no scientific evidence to prove their medicinal value. Dried scales sometimes are utilized in clothing and luxury goods. In countries like China and Vietnam, pangolin meat is considered a culinary delicacy and is viewed as a social status symbol. The businesses involved in pangolin trades were initially operating in Asian countries only. However, the poaching of the pangolin species in Asia, such as the Chinese and the Seldon pangolin, got to the point where the government had to step in and take legal action to protect these species from extinction. The wild population of the Chinese pangolin was estimated to have decreased by more than 80% in just 2 decades. Yet, the crises were far from being resolved. The poachers did not stop. In fact, they started looking into African pangolins to meet the black market's demand. Before long, the population of all 8 pangolin species fell to the point where they became imminently threatened with extinction. This led to pangolins receiving the highest level of protection under CITES, which stands for Convention on the International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild, in 2016. The international trade of pangolins for commercial purposes was finally prohibited by law. The World Wildlife Fund, WWF, together with NGOs like Traffic, are to this day working in Asia and Africa to protect pangolins and other species from wildlife crime. These important groups are actively trying to reduce demand for illegal wildlife products, helping governments mount a strong defense against the poaching crisis, and lobbying for strong national laws and even stronger enforcement to make sure that wildlife crime does not pay. However, despite the conservation initiatives, the international ban, and the many other restrictions that were put forth by organizations and the governments, pangolins still face the threat of extinction. Today, 1 pangolin is removed from the wild every 5 minutes. Another statistic that horrifies me every time reads, in April of 2019, just 3 years after the ban was put forth, Singapore seized 2 massive illegal shipments of pangolin scales, which would have come from an estimated 72,000 pangolins in a span of just 1 week. That's equivalent to the weight of 8 Asian elephants. So, right about now, many of you may be thinking that pangolins certainly deserve to exist, And hopefully you agree with me that illegal poaching is bad. You may even be moved enough to donate a few dollars to NGOs battling on the front lines, like WWF. You can get this cute little pangolin plushie if you decide to contribute through a symbolic adoption. But I also anticipate that while many might sympathize with the pangolins, it still does not register as a priority for you right now. And that is certainly fair. Believe me, I understand. Many of us struggle with food insecurity, systemic racism, grief, and all sorts of hardships. Especially with the global pandemic going on, things are certainly not easy. But what I want to highlight today with my talk about pangolins is how we got to this point, how human greed has triumphed over compassion and decency for too long, and how, with the political will and collective desire for change, we can save a species from extinction. A species that is in peril solely due to our actions. And let's not forget how the extinction of pangolins could result in the collapse of the ecosystem where they thrive. Why should they have to endure the consequences of our selfish actions? If we learn to coexist with all the other species, it is surely possible to move towards a brighter, more diverse future. Even though it might seem impossible to completely revert back to the once harmonious world, it could become possible if we start now. As Sir David Attenborough once said, it is surely our responsibility to do everything in our power to create a planet that provides a home not just for us, but for all life on Earth. I don't know about you, but I would love to live in a world with walking artichokes. Thank you.